Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
We are the Braxtons, and you'll see we are not like an ordinary family. Trace into one tree, a dreamer, and they see it well. Teach you a thing or two. The Braxton Family values.
Thank you all for joining us here today. We have a special guest with us. She is a singer, certified life coach, TV personality, and the matriarch of the Braxton family. Please help me welcome Miss Evelyn Braxton. Miss E, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for joining us here for this special Mother's Day episode of our show. We wanted to highlight someone that has done it and has done it well to help our young mothers and those aspiring mothers just get through the tough times of motherhood. So I want to jump into some talk with you about your experience in motherhood. But first, we know so much about you and your girls and your family, but I want us to learn a bit more about you and your upbringing. Tell us about how your upbringing was. What was it like for you as a little girl?
Well, as a little girl, my dad was a preacher, my mom, first lady. We lived in the church. And so I had the greatest parents in the world. So if I could be just half the woman that my mom was, I would consider myself a success. That lady was incredible. I have two sisters, and of course I'm the middle child and what have you. So it's just, my childhood was really a good one. I had a really good childhood. And whatever I'm doing in life, I learned from the best.
Was music a big part of your family growing up, being the children of a pastor?
Yes, we were my dad's choir. So whenever my dad would go and visit other churches, we had to sing. Of course, I was the leader. I tease my sisters about it, okay? They say, okay. But it was incredible. Of course, we had to sing in our church. I was on the choir. At 10 years old, I was choir director. We had to teach Sunday school, you name it. You also had to walk the life and let your light shine. And everybody else's light seemed to me as a child was a little dim. But
Wow.
as pastor's children, you always had to walk that mile and do the right thing. So it was good, but it was also a little hard.
What would you say was hard about it, trying to hold up the standard that people had for the pastor's children?
Exactly. Trying to hold up that standard, it was very difficult. You really couldn't do a thing, not really, except go to school, go to church, go to Bible study, and had to be in the right places. You couldn't hang out with the wrong crowd. And during that time, my mom fed the people across the tracks. So we had to go with her and help feed the people that was less fortunate. So all my life, it's been busy.
Now, with that being said, do you think that sometimes preachers' kids, they're not allowed to live and just learn and explore life?
I think you're right 100%. No, they're not. They're so busy trying to do the right thing, and the world really are passing them by. And so that's why when I had my children, although I was called in the ministry at a very young age, and I was married, I was married when I had my babies. I got married when I was 2, and I had Tony when I was 3. So therefore, being a PK kid, I wanted better for my children. I wanted my children to experience life, although I still had that old tradition in me as a young woman, but I wanted them to venture out. I wanted them to be who they are and be who they could be. It's good living for the Lord, but he came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. Okay, he made this world so we can enjoy it. He made this world so we can do it the right way. A lot of things that, and although my parents were the greatest parents in the world, but you can only teach that you know. You know?
That's right.
To know better is to do better. And in those days, it was strict. In those days, it was strict. And so that's why when I look at these younger ministers today and I see their children are venturing out and growing and maturing, even though their dad is the minister. Their dad's the minister, not them, for God's sake.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's it. Now, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think the public believes that you and Mr. Braxton, Michael Braxton, your ex-husband, were you guys were full-time pastors when the children were little? Is that true? Yes,
full-time pastoring, plus had an extra job on the side. We had 6 kids, for God's sake.
So what was a typical day like for you guys in the Braxton household?
In the Braxton household, they get up, they went to school, we got home, they did their homework, just like I don't know, it's a little different now. They did their homework, we had dinner, we sat at the table together, and what have you. We were just a typical family, and I was raising them somewhat the way that I was raised, because when my dad would get home, we would eat every day at the table at 6 o'clock at my house where I grew up. And so my ex-husband would get home, I guess around 5, maybe 6, and we would have dinner at 6 o'clock every evening, sitting around the table trying to find out, okay, how was your day, blah, 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 do you have a lot of homework, so on and so forth. But it was good.
Speaking of, you said you have 6 children. I think I know the chronological order, but you let me know. It's Tony, Mikey, Tracy, Tawanda, Trina, and Tamar. Is that the right order?
Absolutely. You got it. Absolutely. You go, boy.
Well, I was always trying. I knew Tony was the oldest. I knew Tamar was the youngest, but sometimes the rest of them, I said, well, I think Mikey, he got to be right up there with Tony. So I just kind of threw them in order. So I got it right. So who? I'm just curious. And I'm sure you were a disciplinarian, even though you were in the church, because I know I'm a preacher's kid, and they whoop just like any other parent. So who got the most spankings growing up?
Let me think. Who got the most spankings? Let me think. I want to be right. Well, Tony was always the one that was very caring. Tony didn't get many spankings. It seemed to me Tony always did the right thing. I don't know if it's that syndrome of being the oldest child or what. I think my son, because he was always, as we called him, a funny bunny. You know what I mean by a funny bunny? He would always do a lot of things, I guess, just for a laugh. Like when the girls was growing up and their little boyfriends came over, he would go into the bathroom, put chocolate on toilet paper, stick it down into his clothes, and come out of the bathroom with the chocolate hanging out on the toilet paper as though there was waste on the toilet paper. And they would say, oh, my God, Mommy, Michael. They would call it doo-doo at that time. Michael have doo-doo on the toilet paper. And Michael would reach down, pick up the toilet paper, and taste it and say, oh, I guess it is, just to embarrass them. So I think he was the one.
Wow, he sounded like he kept a lot of laughs going in that house. Well, you probably laugh at it now, but back then it probably wasn't so funny to them.
No, he was a jokester, a great jokester, the things that boy would do. So, yeah, I think probably Michael,
Wow. Well, we see so much with you and the girls. Now that you're speaking on Michael, he's not on the show as much. Is that intentional?
Yes, Michael is, he works at Johns Hopkins, one of the administrators at Johns Hopkins. And so he doesn't have a lot of time. Michael graduated at the age of 16. He was an LPN. He went back to school. He became registered nurse. And from he loves school, I don't know how he does it, but I'm proud of him. And so got a job at Johns Hopkins and just moved up the scale. And so I'm very proud of him. So he is successful within his own right.
That's beautiful. And I think that's important to note because so many people think when you don't see a certain family member, oh, they must not be disowned them. I said, Michael good. Michael look like when he does show up, she shows up well. So I think he's doing just as good as the rest of them.
Yeah, and he's very close to his sisters, extremely. He calls them every morning. He's still that jokester that he's always been. But on television, he's a little shy, so he doesn't say a whole lot.
Well, now speaking of your family, it's known that you and Mr. Michael Braxton were divorced after many years of marriage. I'm curious, and I think our listeners should know, how did you handle that situation with your children when you and your husband decided to part ways?
Well, I was devastated. You know, that was a rug that was pulled from under my feet. I really wasn't ready for it because I knew nothing about his adulterous affair. And so when I found out, I was just devastated. So I had to regroup myself, get myself together, for God's sake. You know, that's a devastating thing, especially when you have a lot of faith and trust and what have you. And I was always taught that when you're in the church and you're doing work for the Lord, that there's no room for not trusting anyone, you know, because if they say they're going to pray for someone, okay, let them go pray, for God's sake. You don't have to be around their neck, breathing around their neck. You have to trust, respect, and, you know, that type of thing. Just have those things. And so after doing all of that, I just felt like, wait, okay, Lord, what happened here? And my children was disillusioned also because truly, if anyone make it into heaven, truly their dad would, you know. And they and I was just, and I'm still flabbergasted, like, oh, okay, what, you know. However, as years went by, I realized that, wait a minute, this man is not perfect. He's just human, for God's sakes. And it's okay. It's okay. God got me through it. God got the children through it. And we're okay.
That's so right. I want to go back to that moment because you said something so key. And I think it's important for women who are married and to not only pastors, but just men who are popular and you know, just of a certain caliber in their industry. You said that if he had to go do the work of the Lord, you trusted that that's what he was doing. You allowed him to go do that and not breathing on his shoulders and always following them. I think that is so important, even though it didn't necessarily work out the way you thought. But do you think that you would still do it that way if you had the chance? You would still allow him to be free to minister and do what he was called to do?
Yes, indeed. You know, Michael had to be Michael, okay? When we get married, they say, yeah, you're one. However, you are still an individual, for God's sake. He has to do what's right for him, and the wife have to do what's right for her. And although you come together and you become entangled as one, but you still have different thoughts, you have different needs. You know, you need your own friends, you need your own life and what have you. And to me, it has nothing to do with you loving your wife or loving your husband. You can't get lost in somebody else because they're your husband or because they're your wife. You just can't. How can you be free? How can you live life to the fullness when you don't have a life? Come on now. Your life should be bigger than that one person. And so, yes, I think I would do it all over again, because I was giving him the freedom that he needed. Now, if someone chooses to go out and betray that trust, then that's, as the old people would say, that's a horse of another feather. Which horses don't wear feathers, but that's what they say, okay? Then that will bring in a doubt or not trusting. Then they will have to prove themselves. But if your marriage is good and something like that happens, don't just throw in the towel. Like I said, we're not perfect. We're just human. And if you feel that there's something to save, then go to counseling and try and save it, for God's sakes. Try and save it, because you know who he is. He knows who you are. And to go out and just try to find something new because you cheated on me or she cheated on me, so I don't want her anymore. So you're throwing in many, many years only to go into another relationship with all the baggage because you did not resolve the baggage that you were dragging before you got to the new relationship. And that's going to be a problem.
You preaching, Miss E. I have to ask, out of all the children, who do you think took the divorce the hardest? Who was the person that you had to comfort the most?
I think the one I had to comfort the most, I would say probably Trina. Because Trina wears her feelings on her shoulders. And I'm just being honest, and that's not a negative thing. It's just that sometimes people process things differently. No one's the same. You can have 11 kids. Each one of your children are different. So therefore, you have to deal with them accordingly, according to their personality. And I think Trina, although Tony's been divorced, Tawanda, and Trina, and so, it is what it is. It is what it is. But if you are in an abusive relationship, and I must address that. Run for your life, because you could be killed if you decided that, oh, he's not that bad, and your lips are swollen, your eyes are hanging out, your self-esteem is down on the ground. You feel like you just can't make it. You're nobody's punching bag. God didn't call you to be a punching bag. He didn't call you to do that or to be that. You're better than that. You're nobody's rug. You do not allow anyone to walk on you. Listen, there's a difference in meekness and weakness. It's a difference. So, oh, I'm married to death do me part. Exactly, because he's going to kill you. Right. So run for your life. That's not what God was talking about. That's not what he was talking about. And so, now you know the rest of the story.
That was so powerful. You said there's a difference between meekness and weakness.
There's a difference between meekness and weakness. My dad taught us that as a young girl. No. Dad said, let me tell you what my daddy taught me, and the wisdom that I gained from my mom and my dad. My dad told us, and we were all girls, he said, let me tell you about men. He said, a man will walk over 10 weak women to get to that one strong one. And that's what I was taught all my life. So no need anybody getting mad. That's what I was taught. How about that? And I'm just passing it on. And you know what? Through my life struggle, through my life experiences, he was right. He was right. Stand up for yourself. Be strong and courageous. That's not trying to take the head or be in charge. That's just knowing who you are as women.
I think that is so important, and especially for women who are of the faith, because I think women of the faith tend to be taught that they have to be so passive and I don't mind, or I just here to serve, as opposed to being strong and and believing in what they believe and standing up for what they believe in. So I think that is so important to note here.
I agree, because how can you be a leader of other women and you don't know how to lead? That doesn't make sense to me. We learn by example. We lead by example. For God's sake, you're a pastor's wife, but you're a fool for Christ's sake, not theirs.
So good. Well, I got to talk about the time when your girls got into the recording industry. First of all, was music always something that was big in your home?
Music has always been our life. I love opera, and went to school to train a little bit for that and what have you. And whatever whether you're a judge, a lawyer, or a doctor, you tend to teach your children because that's your passion. So I taught my children how to sing, and I'm just going to say this also. While I was having my babies, God told me to train them in the way that they should go, that when they grow old, they will not depart from me. Well, it didn't exactly mean me, but it meant God. It meant the Word of God. Then he told me that they will be a family after his own heart. Okay? Then he told me that they will be a household name. Now, Tamar was a little baby when he said that. Now Tamar is 40. And so look what God has done. God has kept his promise. And I told them all their lives, if you call any one of them, they will tell you the same thing. But one thing he did say, keep him first. And I never cease to remind them that don't forget to remember where all your blessings come from. Your blessings didn't come from me. I cultivated it because God told me to. But your talent came from God. No one else gave you that. And so when Tony ventured out and started singing secular music, and I'm going to tell you, I love church folks, but they are the worst sometimes that you ever want to meet. It is what it is. It's always a put down when these young people reach out to better themselves, to move forward. It's sad, but it's true. And so when Tony started singing the secular music, yes, we were ridiculed. Yes, we were dogged. All of those things. But I told Tony, I said, baby, go forth and slack not your range, not unless God bid you. Do what you need to do. I don't believe when God give a person a talent that is just right there in a little small circle. The world is big. It's big. But we want to take God and talent and put it in a matchbox. And you can't move. Come on now. Let's grow. Listen, God is never satisfied. You may think about what I'm saying before you comment. Because if he was satisfied, he would have just made man and nothing else. He wouldn't have made the trees. He wouldn't have made the world. He wouldn't have made the moon. He wouldn't have made the stars. Well, we are in God's own image. We are supposed to study, grow. We are supposed to grow every day. We are supposed to be creative because our daddy is creative. We're supposed to move on and not stay in just a little, circle. The circle is not big enough. The world is bigger than a circle. So just because you are in the Lord should not hinder your growth and who you are. How about that?
Amen to that. Amen. Were you nervous at all at that time when Tony went out to be a part of this big industry?
I was, yes. There's no need me lying. Yes. Because of the unknown. We've never ventured out that way or out there because of the unknown. Yes.
What was the conversation you had with her, like that mother-daughter conversation, prepping her, and what was that like?
Well, that was hard for me also because I don't think that my mind had expanded the way it should have been because of the lack of knowledge. And so you can't teach 1 and 1 is 2 if you don't know it. But I think that the conversation we had, I think it was very productive, and I think she understood what I was trying to say, to be careful, to be wise. Don't take everybody as your friend. And yet she lost a lot of friends also. But I also told her this, baby, you cannot lose a friend that you never had.
That's good.
As simple as that. And so whatever else we talked about, I learned along the way, as she did. As she grew, I grew.
You just said something so powerful, and I think so many young people experience it now. When they decide to do things differently and build a life for themselves, all these friends that they had and that they were buddies with and they thought they would be with them all the way, people tend to fall off. And I think for so many young people, it's a hurting thing. From a mother's perspective, talk to those people real quick. Just give them some encouraging words for that process.
Well, the most important thing is this. You have to know who you are. Friends shouldn't validate you. God and you should validate you. And if you have a dream, go forth. Go and reach out for your dream because it's your dream. It's no one else's dream. And so a lot of times if the friends get upset because you're not doing what they want you to do or because they feel like you are advancing in your dream and your calling, they become angry. You have to shake the dust from your feet and move on because 9 times out of 10, if you move on, hurt is very hurtful. God always has something better, okay? Now, I always talk about the bear, and sometimes we have bears in our lives. Sometimes we are our own bear, and sometimes those friends that we think are our friends are actuality our bears. And what they want to do is stop us because they didn't reach their dream. Now, I don't know, do I have time to talk about the bear, baby?
Yes, ma'am.
There was a young lady that had a very low self-esteem of herself. She grew up with the words like, you will never be anything. You're just like your father. Look at you. You're dumb and you're stupid. And a lot of these things come from our homes. They think that sometimes it comes from outside, but a lot of things we grew up with the negativity because maybe the mom didn't like the daddy, and maybe the daddy didn't care anything about the mom, and they were in a horrible relationship, and so the children had to bear all of this just being in the home and listening to it. But let's get back to the young lady. The young lady was always taught that she will never achieve. So she graduated from high school. Finally, she got through college, and she went out to find a job. And so because of her self-esteem, she went in for an interview, and she just felt like she wasn't worthy because all of her life she was taught that she was not worthy. And they told her, said, well, we like you. We'll give you a call. She said, okay, and she left and she went home. They called her up and said, well, you have the job. Instead of rejoicing over the job, she felt within her mind, oh, my God, I don't think I'm going to measure up. So she fell asleep, and I am a little animated also. She fell asleep, and she heard this bear at her door, and he's knocking at the door. And she said, oh, my God, it's a bear. And the bear knocked the door down and came inside. And she said, oh, my God, the bear is inside. Oh, my God, what must I do? The bear is inside of my house. So the bear came a little further in, and the bear went into the kitchen, and he was knocking the pots down. And she said, oh, my God, and the bear, boom, 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 the pot was being knocked down. And she said, oh, my God, the bear is in my kitchen. What shall I do, Lord? The bear's in the kitchen. So the bear went a little further down into the hallway. And she said, oh, my God, he's in the hallway. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So the bear got to her door, and she could hear the bear breathing. And she said, oh, my God, the bear is outside of my door. What shall I do? So the bear knocked the door down, came into her bedroom, ran back with his paw up. And she said, wait a minute. Are you going to kill me? And the bear looked at her and said, I don't know. It's your dream.
Wow.
So you see, we all have a bear. But will you make it? I don't know. It's your dream. Will you become the president of the United States? I don't know. It's your dream. Will you become a lawyer, a doctor? Whatever your heart desires, will you become that? I don't know. It's your dream.
Miss E, we can have a benediction, collect the offering, and go home on that one. My goodness, that blessed me. Wow. Okay. Well, you guys you're the matriarch of the Braxton family, and you embarked upon with your children this TV experience, the Braxton Family Values. How did that opportunity come about?
Well, I really didn't want to do it, but my kids convinced me, Mommy, come on, it would be good, and what have you, and I'm like, okay, let me pray about it. I pray about everything first. I just believe in it, And I'm like, oh, okay. So they said, well, come on, Mommy, you got this. You're a woman of wisdom. You're a woman of knowledge. The people can learn a lot about your wisdom, your understanding. Come on, Mommy. I'm like, oh, okay, we got this. And so I went forth. I did it. And I'm doing it.
That is so true. And it shows such a great, I think so many people love the show because of the family orientation of it. And because, you have all this stuff going on with the children, but you still got this mama in the corner. And it's something about that mama being there and saying, okay, hold it. Watch yourself. Miss E don't hold up. You don't hold them up. I tell you, I love watching it. I love seeing you still hold that standard, because we still need it. And there's so many moms and grandmas that are not like you. We don't have that generation that you come from is not with us as much anymore. And we need to see that, So I applaud you for keeping them in order and keeping us all in order, because we all learned something from that experience.
Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate you, and thank you for this wonderful interview.
Oh, you're so welcome. Now, we're going to get ready to bring it to a close, but I want to let you share with us, because it's my understanding that you have a cookbook. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, yes. Thank you so much for bringing that up. See, I get so carried away when I'm talking about it.
Well, we got to talk about it.
Yes, it should be out at the end of this year. It's all of my recipes that I learned and got from my mom and what have you. So it's going to be phenomenal. It's not a regular cookbook. It's also a cookbook of wisdom and cookbook of knowledge, just stories. It's really enlightening.
You guys talk so much about the biscuits on the show, so I have to ask, what's the secret to the famous biscuits?
Mm-hmm. I'm a woman of wisdom. Why would I get the love? That's the secret. How about that?
I love it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Buffins. We call them buffins now because I'm launching those buffins, so it should be out hopefully sometime after the summer. I know it will be out around Thanksgiving and what have you, but they are incredible. And not only that, but I will be on the Sister Circle tomorrow, cooking just a little special thing for them. So you have to watch and see, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Well, you have to let us know. What are your plans for Mother's Day? It's fastly approaching. Do you guys have any big plans?
I don't, but I never know what the girls or my son have planned. So, they surprised me with my birthday in January. I told them I didn't want to do anything. I just want to lay around. Shoot, I had a party. Party.
And rightfully so.
I never know with my family. They'll pop up, and one may say, I'm not coming in town, and then I look, there they are. So God is so good, and I'm so blessed, and I'm highly favored. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, you truly are favored. And before we get out of here, I have to give you the opportunity, share a little nugget of wisdom to our young mothers who may be experiencing divorce, who may not even have been married. Just give them a little nugget to hold on to before we go.
Well, ladies, even through a divorce, this too shall pass. Trust me. You just have to know who you are and move forward. And those that are not married, just remember what God has for you is for you. There may be a guy right around the corner, maybe a guy that you talk to every day, and you don't realize that may be your husband. But I always believe in this. Pray first and ask God to send someone in your life that is worthy of you, because everybody's not worthy of you. And you don't settle. How about that? You're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're smart. You got it like that. You'll be okay.
Well, Miss E, thank you so much for joining me, and happy Mother's Day to you. I appreciate it. Well, this has been the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit cornelljermaine.com.